Hello, and welcome to the Art of Music Tech. Today's guest is Christian McBride. The four-time Grammy Award winner, band leader, composer, and bassist has worked with the best in the industry. Paul McCartney, Isaac Hayes, D'Angelo, Sonny Rollins, Herbie Hancock, Chaka Khan, Carly Simon, and Sting, just to name a few. Join us as we speak with Christian about his first time in the recording studio, favorite producers to work with in the studio, and his latest audio equipment addition.
I remember my first time in the recording studio as a professional bassist. It was in September of 1990, and I was at the legendary studio of Rudy Van Gelder in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. And I was recording a CD with the great trumpeter Wallace Roney, and that was, you figured like for your first recording session, you kind of start off with something small and eventually kind of get to that place. But my first recording session was at Rudy Van Gelder's, like the most legendary jazz engineer in history. So, not really being much of a tech head, I even knew that Rudy had like unmarked mics that nobody knew what they were. He had all kinds of cables, nobody really knew what they were. He had tape on his console, and like everything was like top secret, I remember that he had a mic that he wrapped in foam, and he stuck it in the bridge of my acoustic bass. And I remember hearing the playback, and I was just so mesmerized that I was in the studio of Rudy Van Gelder. I wasn't really paying attention to how the bass actually sounded because I was just so, enthralled by Rudy Van Gelder. But that was a heck of an experience. The first CD I ever made being at Van Gelder Studio. It's just fascinating to see how certain producers and certain musicians know how to use the studio as an instrument itself. I realized that in playing jazz, the goal is to capture the moment exactly how it happened. However people are improvising, whatever notes you played at that very second, that's what people should hear. But I am not opposed to tweaking with that to make the final track something extremely special. Meaning that if you something as basic as overdubs or just some sort of sound processing to give the actual track a certain kind of personality. I realize that as a jazz, a lot of jazz musicians, a lot of us are vehemently opposed to that. Don't change the sound any kind of way. No overdubbing, that's cheating. No sound processing, that's cheating. But I think there have been some producers, even in the jazz world, because that's primarily where I've made my living. People like Delphio Marcellus and George Duke and Tommy LaPuma, they know how to capture the moment, but still know how to work the track with studio techniques to make it even better. I would say that Tommy LaPuma and George Duke are the two people who I had the closest relationships with. Maybe in and out of the studio. Tommy is the only producer I've ever met. I'm sure Tommy is the only producer that most artists have met who actually likes to sit out in the main room with the musicians. And, most producers sit behind the console and they kind of take it in, they're listening to the track as it comes in. But Tommy has always had this concept of, I like to feel the energy of the musicians, because that actually tells me if the track is good or not. I don't want to hear it in the booth or in the console. I want to be out with the cats and just feel the energy. And at first, I thought that was odd. I thought that was awkward. It's like, why is he sitting out here? But then he's so unobtrusive. You know, you don't really know he's there. He just gets his chair, he's sitting out there, he's enjoying the music. And just a beautiful, beautiful man, a former musician himself. So he knows what he's hearing, and he knows what makes a really, really great track. And George Duke, of course. I mean, I can't, there's way too much that I could say about George Duke as to why not only was he a very successful producer and a successful musician, but what a great, great man he was overall. So George was probably one of the first musicians that I met, musicians/producers that I met, who really kind of brought me deep down into his lair. You know, I worked with him at his home studio in Hollywood quite a bit. And yeah, man, I miss George a whole lot. What a great, great man. Well, certainly, again, being in the jazz world and playing a lot of acoustic music, usually when I hear some monitor speakers, I'm looking for the purity in sound. I like to hear the bass as it really sounds. I can't say I've ever been a huge fan of subs because it sort of falsifies the bottom end, particularly of an acoustic bass. So when I heard these Eclipse speakers, I loved the fact that what I was hearing sounded like what I hear when I'm practicing, or like when I'm in the room with some guys. You know, there's the piano, there's the saxophone, whatever it is, and it comes back exactly as I hear it naturally. And that to me is like the telltale sign of some great speakers. If it sounds exactly as you hear it when you're just playing naturally in the room with some cats, you know. So these are amazing. And then once I found out my man Al Schmidt uses these speakers as well. Al Schmidt is someone else who I've worked with a lot in the studio all these years, especially with Tommy LaPuma. So if Al gives it the thumbs up, I know it's good. Hi, I'm Christian McBride, and you are watching The Art of Music Tech.